What I'll be talking about this afternoon is the arts for well-being in our everyday lives. And I really am a strong believer that the arts is an embodied practice. It's something that we do. And yeah, and I'll talk more about that. And for anybody who's interested in learning more, this is my website. So you could find out about my courses and stuff that I do. So this afternoon, I hope we could discover your resilience through the arts and how the arts does contribute to increasing resilience. And so some of the objectives of today is to explore how the arts and wellness um, for our brain and body, as well as how to make it part of our everyday lives, and the links between theory and evidence and practice, and finally, to connect with your creative abilities. So I'd like to get to know you too. If you could take a paper and pencil or pen, I would like you to think about who would you be if you had no limitation, okay? If you could write that down, and maybe later we could check into what that would be. Or this is going to be part of something I'd like you to think about. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. As a child, I longed to be a dancer, an artist, and an inventor. These are things that were really important to me, and I just saw the world as my playground. And I'd like you too to think about, to remember, what were some of the things that you longed to be as a child? And if you could also write that down or think about that. So my own story is my family history went through generational trauma. I grew up with parents who lived through the Holocaust, and there was no language for generational trauma at the time. Later, the theme came up in a short film that I made, Memories That Sing, that you could find on YouTube. And this theme has been my life's work and has been the grit in my pebble shaping my journey. So the arts was always something. It was a refuge for me. It was a safe place for me to work out stuff. And I did that unconsciously growing up. And I'm really grateful for that. So before I studied rehab medicine and occupational therapy, I went to York and I was studying art. I was studying visual arts. And then I went to U of T and I studied occupational therapy. But then after, when I graduated, I discovered so much of our healthcare system was focused on disease. And I wanted to discover um, what it was that gave people happiness and joy. So I didn't even have the background in film, but I went and I took an evening course at Ryerson, studied filmmaking, and I made a documentary called In Search of Joy. It's also online if you go to my YouTube channel. And that gave me a whole insight on the importance of being present and our five senses and the arts as well, and how it gives us our vitality. Later in life, I wanted an instrument. My first instrument in my 30s was a fiddle, and then later I picked up the guitar, and my first band was in my 40s. And then later, I'll just go back to that later. I made my own debut album of heartbreak songs. And again, songwriting was a way to deal and reflect on issues on my life and to grow. And not necessarily always having the skills that I needed, but I made a point of learning by doing. And I'm a slow learner. It has taken me time, but I just wanted to bring this up to show you that as an adult, you can pick up things no matter what your level or challenge is, or to even consider that this is a possibility. So in my career path, I first started working at CAMH in inpatient psychiatry. And then later I worked at St. Michael's in an outpatient mental health clinic. And then I was part of a inner city health, and they were interested in community development. And through that program, I founded and developed, with the support of a great team and director and manager, a creative work studio from 1998 to 2017. And I'm going to share some of the highlights from that program as well. After, when I left Creative Work Studio, I felt I had a legacy to share. And I talked to the Canadian Association of Occupational Therapists, and with them, I developed a 7-week program on how to create and sustain arts-based programs in your occupational therapy program. And oops, sorry about that. And that I did for 2 years. And then I developed my own program called Arts-Based Wellbeing. And that's an 8-week training program for teachers and occupational therapists and healthcare practitioners to learn how to use the arts in your practice. But I also developed another course, and this is for anyone who's interested. It's an online course. I did it in the fall, and I'll be doing it again in the winter. And it's a 5-week online course. It has modules, and then once a week, 90-minute live sessions in making art. And the feedback that I was given is that it really builds the confidence in creating and your wellness. So if anyone's interested, just check. You could subscribe to me, and you will find out more about this in the new year. So there's a lot of research that has opened up in the whole area of arts and well-being. And I didn't know this while I was doing the work that I did. I just really believed in it from my own experience and what I saw the clients that I worked with who had various mental health, physical health, cognitive issues, and how they blossomed. But just recently, I discovered over the last 20 years, there's been a whole number of research that has been done all over the world in this area. This is a great resource. It's called Your Brain on Art: How the Arts Transforms Us, by Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross. It's a fairly new book. It came out last year. And it's a practical guide to what's called the neuro arts. It's a term used to describe the latest science of how the arts can transform the brain and the body. And I'm just going to move this here. Okay, and get to the next slide. So the arts enhances our cognitive abilities. Daisy Fancourt is she is one of the experts in this whole area. She's an epidemiologist and has done extensive research and longitudinal studies on the arts, culture, and health. And I love what she says. She says the arts are helping to provide cognitively stimulating activities they're providing social support. They're also helping to provide novel experiences and giving opportunities for emotional expression. They are a form of educational and skill development, and all of these factors are part of building cognitive reserve. They help to build brain resilience. So to me, that's no surprise because there are so many things happening, whether you're painting or listening to music or playing, and we're going to talk more about that. So Daisy Fancourt also did a COVID-19 social study and revealed that people who have spent 30 minutes or more each day during the pandemic on an arts activity like reading just for pleasure or listening to music or engaging in a creative hobby have lower reported cases of depression, anxiety, and have improved their life satisfaction. And this I found on social media that this was a research study that showed that the stress-related hormone cortisol, which is increases during stress, is lowered just significantly after doing 40 minutes of art painting. There's also a link between music and emotion. Um, Listening and making music is dope because it increases what's called our dopamine, which directly affects our mood. And listening to music can elicit positive um, emotions and affect through the activation of the midbrain structure, which is what processes our emotions. So music is a great way of affecting our moods. And in the area of psychoneuroendocrinology, there's a whole new area of health research. And they've discovered that singing, dancing, playing a musical instrument are suggested to have a beneficial effect with some benefits of stress and relaxation. And some of you who may dance already or play a musical instrument or who enjoy listening will notice that, you know, your mood can become more peaceful or happy by doing these things. So the arts is definitely a way to help us cope. And it's a language for expression, whether it's painting or music or dancing or journaling and writing. I'm wondering if any of you right now engage, if you could just show me a hand or something that if you already engage in these things. I see Julie has a beautiful painting on her screen, but it's something to try out. So I'm going to share my own experience through the Creative Work Studio. This is a program that I founded in 1998 because I saw as a therapist that loneliness was a major challenge for people living with mental health issues in the community, and they needed a place that they could go to that was safe and welcoming. I did this through St. Michael's Hospital to address social isolation. But, you know, today, unfortunately, social isolation has only increased as a result of COVID and technology. So it's really important to have more safe spaces where art making and community is accessible. I'm a strong believer in that. So I created a safe place for, and I also advocated for the right space. Um, I was fortunate to find a space in South Riverdale, and I partnered with an organization called the Good Shepherd, and they had a supportive housing complex, and they had below a karaoke bar, and they wanted something different in their building. And so we got a Trillium grant, and from a basement that didn't quite look like that, we got the funding and the resources to build a real studio space where people could create as well as exhibit and show their artwork. And we had these art shows, and people were able to come from a place of fear to a place of fearlessness and to strength. And we also had a songwriting program, and that was a place that people were able to strengthen their identity to positive identities, because so often people were coming from places of loss, from illness and losing jobs and all kinds of things, and having these new opportunities was life-changing. It was a real game changer. And one of the fellows, this was in the studio that we recorded our album. We actually made an album called Coming Out of Darkness. And in this group that I facilitated, they called themselves the Social Mystics. And one of the fellows said to me when we were recording that it was an honor to have this experience, and he didn't want to leave because he enjoyed the recording process. And we worked with a professional producer and engineer. And I also had some other musicians, studio musicians, help us out. This all was possible through a grant. Doing these kinds of programs, you need extra resources, and grants are really important. I'm just noticing there are 6 people in a chat, so I'm just going to show some of the chat. Okay, it's not related. Someone said, I practice non-neuro arts in creative work studio, but I called it mindless meditation. Yes, it is. Okay, so, and it, of course, it creates, we performed, after we made our CD, our album, we performed at a music venue called the Transact Club. And just to let you know, most of these people never performed. Many of these people never sang before this group. One did play a guitar, but never had the experience of recording in a professional studio. So these opportunities were amazing. And I'm going to share one of the songs from this album. And you could, if you're interested, it's on Bandcamp. So you could get the album or listen to the other tunes. But I'll play you one of them. This is our lead song called Coming Out of Darkness. And this grew out of a music program that I facilitated with a volunteer in songwriting. And we collaborated together in writing songs. And it was just fantastic. And here's one of the songs.
Ideas fly like wings around the room. Happy to be part of something. Painting through the pain and the fear.
that happened, but I'll get back to the tracks so you hear the rest of the song.
In a room filled with searching faces, working hard to make our own mark, coming out of darkness, coming out of urban streets so gray, coming out of darkness, finding peace in something new today, finding peace in something new, finding peace in something new, finding peace in something new today.
And as the song says, finding peace in something new today, coming from a place of darkness. And, you know, the truth that can happen by writing a song and then being able to sing it and take it from a place of, not even thinking you can do it to a place of actually creation is so exciting, I think, and builds your connection and confidence. And one woman said, I would never in all my life have believed that I would be standing on stage singing into a microphone. So having those new opportunities gives you, opens a door into a whole new world. We made a film. I don't think I'll have the time to show it today because I have a little activity that I'd like us to do, but it is on YouTube. It's called What's Art Got to Do with It? And it was a documentary to show how 5 of our participants in the program, how their lives changed and impacted through being in this new art-based program. And it was quite remarkable. So if you get a chance to see it, it's online on YouTube. Oops. So currently, we've all been living through an unusual time over the pandemic, where there's been sudden changes, loss, and grief. So it really becomes essential to nourish and take care of our various feelings that come up creatively with love and care for ourselves as well as for others. So nurturing is so important, and the arts does that. And also, since the pandemic, more of us are spending increased time in front of this computer, right? In our digital or with our digital devices like this, feeling cooped up. It's so important to have opportunities where we could connect with each other. And there's just basically a need for more new creative approaches. So there is a book, a great resource, another great resource called Creativity, the Psychology of Discovering, Discovery and Invention. And Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, that's a name, that's a big name. He's known for his research in the area of flow, but he also, what he did is he gathered very successful professionals who are creative in their field, not necessarily just artists, professors, athletes, scientists. And he found that those people who were engaged in their creativity had had a lot of life satisfaction and were always thriving in what they were doing. And one of the things that he discovered is that these people always kept a mindset of curiosity. And so he recommends that you try to be surprised by something every day, something you see, hear, or read about. Stop to look at a new, unusual flower, how it's different from the others. What is its essence? And to keep a beginner's mind, not to assume you know. Be open to what the world is telling you. Life is nothing more than a stream of experiences, and the more widely and deeply you swim in it, the richer your life will be. And that is a big part of what the arts does, is it enriches your life. And by enriching your life changes. And I feel it's important to learn from creative people. Anybody a Lady Gaga fan? Um, if you are or not, she says something that I found so inspiring. She says, Lady Gaga, when asked if she was happy, she says, yes, I'm focusing on the one thing I believe in, challenging myself. I'm embarking on new territory with some nerves and overjoyment. I love that word, overjoyment. And she continues to say, I just remember feeling so irritated that I had to conform to being normal or less than whatever I was already born into. So I took radical enjoyment in expressing myself in grandiose ways. It's never about looking perfect. It's always about being myself. So if there's anything I could inspire or share today, this afternoon, is to really not get stuck in trying to fit a certain mold, but to allow yourself to be yourself. And that is a real important step in your own creativity and your own wellness. So I would like us to do this exercise. I know some of you have brought paper and pens or pencils. So if you haven't, get your drawing supplies and a piece of paper. And I'm going to guide you in this exercise. And it's from the New York Times, Eddie Fake, and it's called How to See a Beautiful Way Forward. So in this exercise, I'm going to, we're going to look at the metaphor of a garden. And you can add words to the flower or make it purely visual. This is one example of what one person did. But we're going to start with something simple. Just move this. So once you have your drawing tools, I'd like you to draw a simple stem, just a stem. And once you have that stem, and of course, you're in your own room, so you don't have to worry about what it looks like. Think about an issue you care about and start to draw a flower on the stem and keep your issue in mind. Here's an example. It's very simple, but you could make it as elaborate or simple. Don't worry at all about a good drawing. Keep adding shapes and colors and lines to your flower. And then you could add words to make it just visual. Words that are important to you right now. What is it that you want to grow in your life? What steps would you like to take? And let that flower grow into a garden with your words or just visual. And then you could expand your flower into a pattern with lines, steps, bridges. And as you do this, check in with your emotions. Think about your actions. Can you see a brighter future? And this is a perfect time to be doing this. As we end 2023, what do you want for 2024 in your garden? For a brighter future? And can you see yourself in it in this garden? And you could use your markers, you could use your pencil crayons, whatever you have. While you're drawing, if you could ask yourself, what can I do about this? How can I challenge myself in things that I really want to do this year, this next year? You could extend the blossom of your flowers as big as you need. And remember, keep thinking and keep feeling. If you want to know more, this is my website, Arts-Based Wellbeing. I offer a training course as well as I mentioned, I'm going to be offering a 5-week course in the new year, which is called the Arts-Based Wellbeing Self-Care. And that is where you'll be doing a lot of painting and drawing and songwriting. So if you're interested in learning more about that, check out my website. Or you could email me. This is where to find me. Yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing.